I remembered from long ago, I inherited this Mantis rototiller. And it's literally been under my house probably 10 years. And the other house I lived at, I probably hadn't used it 5, 6 years. So I decided to get this puppy working. First thing I did was installed a new spark plug, which made sense. The next thing I decided to do was put in a new air filter, which I did that. Then the next recommended thing that they do is they provide grease. Let me show you that here. So Mantis provides grease for you. This had never even been opened, so I knew this was the first time I had done this. But let's see if I can get in there. You see that there in the very middle? You remove those four screws, and inside is a gearbox. And what you do basically is you flip this whole puppy upside down, and then you fill up the gearbox with this grease level with the top. And they had a replacement gasket to go on that, and I did that. I also took apart all of this and sprayed it down with WD-40 and degreaser and all that, so parts would move. And parts here would move, they would move well, so that was all good. So then I added the fuel and tried cranking this puppy. The first problem I noticed was when you pressed on this button here to add a quick fill for the carburetor, nothing was coming in. So I decided that the line going to it and then going into the tank, I went into the tank and it said pull it up and check it and make sure the filter is good. Well, when I got in there with a wire with a U on it and lifted it up, it promptly snapped into 3 different pieces. So it was totally dry rot, and what I had to do was turn the whole Mantis over, put a funnel on my gas tank, and empty this puppy. And then I got in there and I fetched out all the broken pieces, which meant I was going to have to replace the fuel supply line and probably the return fuel line, which is this puppy right in here. And all those go through this 3-hole gasket. There's one down there about 6, and then one here about 9 o'clock, and this is about 2 o'clock. This doohickey here, I can't remember what it's called. It's not important. But fortunately, I was able to go on Amazon, and they sell kits for Mantis/Echo. And they're all the fuel lines and the filter and everything you need. So my next video is going to be about installation of that, putting the air filter back on, and all that good stuff. And believe me, I had a lot of cleaning. This was completely covered in black, crappy looking gunk just everywhere. You see how this looks right here? That was covering everything, and it just looked so nasty. So I did a good cleaning of that, and I'm happy about this. Here are your fuel air adjusters here, and hopefully when the parts arrive, the fuel lines arrive, the whole kit with the new gasket and everything, when they arrive tomorrow, I'll make a video showing replacing that and putting all that together. And first thing I'm going to do is test this bulb and see if it pulls fuel up in it, and then I know I'm good to go. And then all it is basically good old grunt work, cranking this thing and pulling on this thing, getting it going. Now let's see if I can go up here. Oh, this is your that was nice. This is your start and stop switch, and also that's on the right hand, and also this is part of the deal as far as getting the rotors going. So like I said, we'll do the rest of the video tomorrow getting this puppy going. And if I get it going, hallelujah, then we're going to go rip into that hard soil out there. All right, next time. Boop. Well, the new parts have arrived from Amazon today. This is the fuel supply line with the filter. This is fuel return line. And this here is called the check valve. And I'm going to go ahead and replace all of these. Now, the kit also came with 2 of these bulbs that would supposedly replace this, but I don't need to do that. Now, it also came with, I guess it's called a grommet, whatever, that supposedly replaces that, but I don't need to replace that. So set this to the side along with these, which I don't need to replace. Now, I noticed getting these out of here, it's very snug. So what I'm going to do on all of these is I'm going to spray them with some silicone lubricant to allow them to pass through these small holes easily. Now, I trimmed this check valve and took off this excess here to match pretty much what we already had. I am not going to trim these off. I'm going to do these as they were supplied, and not only spraying them with silicone lubricant, I am also going to spray these holes here to allow it to pass through. I'm going to be using the Gunk Heavy Dew silicone spray lubricant. We'll tune back in once I've got some of these lines already in.
Well, I noticed that trying to get those lines into the position of the gas tank was next to impossible. So I took the gas tank out. Those screws were totally locked up. I needed PB Blaster to get them off. But now I have access easier to the gas tank. So we shall proceed. I found out the easiest thing to do to get these lines in is to take this gasket or grommet out of the hole. The new one that's supplied is really way too big a diameter. You'll see here. The diameter is just way too big for the hole we have here. So what I'm going to do, which will make better sense, is I can put my return line in, coming in from this side, and have it in long enough. And then my fuel supply line, I can have it long enough coming in, and I'll just put this back in the hole, and everybody will be good to go, ready to go. Now, for putting the fuel line in, I went ahead and put this grommet here, or this gasket here that goes on the gas tank, down in a slot between wood at my workbench. So then what I'll be able to do is push this down through the hole till it just gets on the other side, and then I can reposition this to allow it to push it through. I found that for me, the best tool to push it down in was needle nose pliers. You don't want it to be sharp. You want it to be dull at the end because you don't want to break or pierce the hose. And slowly begin gently pushing it through till it gets to the other side, and then either with your hands or needle nose pliers you can pull it through. Also, something, plastic like this, if you wanted to, you could modify it, which I could do, to help push the tubing in through that tight hole. It's tight like that so your fuel won't leak back out. So I'm going to do this next and see what I get.
Well, after much labor and much work, I've got everything in and the gasket and the grommet back. It's a matter of adjusting lengths of like the fuel supply, fuel return, and this valve or whatever this is. I never can remember what this guy is. But now I need to put the gas tank back on and hook these hoses up and add some fuel and see if she cranks. Okay, everything is put back together. All the lines are in, fuel supply line, fuel return, and this doohickey here. Feel free in the comments to educate me. I don't really care right now what it is. So what we're going to do now is add fuel to things, and that'll be the magic test. I will be pressing this bulb right here, see if I can get fuel come in, which I couldn't do before. All right, let's go see what happens. Okay, here we go. Let's see if our bulb here works, whether we're getting any fuel coming in. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We got fuel in there just like we're supposed to. Let's crank it up. Saga of getting this rototiller, Mantis, continues. I decided to do what a friend of mine said and went and got some starting fluid, sprayed it all in here when I had the choke open, and didn't start. He said take out your spark plug and spray it in there. Well, upon doing that, guess what happened? I went to take out my spark plug, and old Sparky himself, somehow I broke it. So I doubt things are going to fire with this situation going on. So that was dead, so to speak. And went ahead and did an overnight delivery from Amazon because it was too late to go to the auto stores, and I just wanted it here when I woke up. I got another one. She's gapped correctly, and I'm ready to give it the good old pull. So I'm going to give it a fresh spray here before I try to start her up. Down in the carburetor. And then down here. See what happens. I was able to determine last night how I broke this thing. And that is, I had it sitting like this to get to the screws to take the gas tank off. And unfortunately, if you look, the weight is right there on the spark plug. And I didn't realize that. And these screws were so tight that I was hitting the screwdriver into them to try and loosen them up, hammering hard, hitting it with a PB blaster. This one here and this one here in the back bottom came out pretty good, but this one here was a lot of trouble. And in my banging and slamming and trying to wrench it off, I broke my spark plug. So if you're ever doing that, working on it at that angle, excuse my bad filming, if you're working on it at that sort of angle, remember not to put all the weight on the spark plug, which is sticking out of the front. That'll be a problem. All right, we're going to try and crank her up. Well, I have yanked and pulled with the choke closed, halfway open, all the way open. I've added more starting fluid. The bulb here is working nicely with fuel in it, so the carburetor should have enough, but it is not turning over at all. So I think my next step might be run this out to a small engine repair shop and see what they think. I know when I'm at the end of myself. Well, at least for now I am. Maybe I'll pull on it again later, but I have better things to do than mess with this crap. Before I actually took this thing to a shop or had a shop come here and work on it, I got few tips from them and discussions with them, and as it is with most machines, most devices, you've got three components that have got to be correct. You've got the problem could be a chemical problem. Excuse me. It could be a mechanical problem. Something is actually broken. Or it could be an electrical problem. Now, as far as the electrics go, I double checked the switch contact in here, made sure it was nice and clean. I sanded it just a little bit and reset the wire, and I sprayed a little bit of cleaner in the switch itself, so it should be good. Now, we already know I dealt with the other electrical component here, which is the spark plug, and I tried squirting the starter right in to where the piston is, and I got no action. Now this line here runs from, it goes underneath the gas tank here, and it goes up to the starting switch. Now I checked the contact here, and it is good. This is a fixed contact. I can't get it, so I believe it's good. I cleaned all of this stuff off of here, but I noticed where there's electrical contact here in the magnetos, a little bit of rust on that. So I am going to clean these up on this wheel. And this guy has got two contact areas. Let me get out of the sun. Here, I'm going to check on that contact there. And then there's another smaller one. It's hard to see it, but it's right down in there. So I'm going to make sure those surfaces are not fouled with rust or whatever. And I'm not going to sand them too much because it's a critical distance there. Now the last thing on the mechanical side of things, which is you got gas, you got electrical, but on the mechanical side of things, you got no compression. And that means you got a bad piston, bad something in the engine itself. And the cost to repair that would be more than what this is worth. These things run, I don't know, between 150 to 300 bucks, depending wherever you want to go. So it'd be just as smart buying another tiller than to put money into trying to fix the compression. And two shops told me that. So I'm going to get back to a little bit of cleaning on things and give another look at things. We'll be back. Okay, I took some 220 grit sandpaper and cleaned these up. They were rusty beforehand. So they're nice and clean, good for electric contact. And then lastly, on the other side of the equation, kind of hard to see these guys, but I cleaned these guys as well, where they'd be coming in contact with things. And this one here, pretty well clean. You see these that I cleaned here on this side that I showed you earlier, they come in contact, and there is your electrical action in there. So I'm going to put this all back together again and see whether that helped anything. If not, I've got a guy that's willing to come out and take a look at this thing, and another guy that wants me to call him back in a little bit. So that is it for now. Getting this thing fixed to save me work on putting in pavers in my yard has been quite the exasperating event. Well, I am done for the day messing with this thing. I've done everything I know to do. I am somewhat afraid that we might have a compression problem, which means I will probably have to think about another option instead of this tiller. So, like I said, when you can't figure it out yourself, go to the guy that knows what he's doing. And here we are.